We did it. Paul helped us get the
Yeah.
timing right. Welcome to Office Hours. How's it going, Paul?
Good. I just realized I typed in the other window, and so I came across this Ecamm instead of me. But
Oh, you could
oh
be
well.
Ecamm. You're welcome to be Ecamm. I mean, it'll make me sad not to see your little wrench though in the comments. It won't be as exciting. Well, we're back for another episode of Office Hours. I guess not really an episode, an Office Hours experience. If you're new to Ecamm or you're new to Office Hours, this is your time. So Paul and I are here to answer any questions. You could ask us about Ecamm stuff. You could ask us about community stuff, events, how to stream, how to podcast, how to record videos, about Paul's cat, my chickens, whatever you want to talk about. We're here to answer all of those questions. And if you have no questions, then we're just gonna talk at you about all the cool things that are happening here around in and around Ecamm. First off, being while I wait for some questions to pop on, that we have a new community page. So this has been a long time coming, maybe an embarrassingly long amount of time. But if you go ecamm.com/community, you can find all of our stuff in one spot. So you can click to go to the Facebook page, you can click to go to the Discord, you can find out what's going on with the beta, you can find out the affiliates information, YouTube, various shows, the newsletter, all of it is all in one spot. And so this will be kind of home base for us. We'll be growing this as we maybe shrinking it. We'll be growing into. We'll be making it more practical as the days go on. So let us know if there's anything that you want added there, or if you want to find stuff. This is the spot: ecamm.com/community. All right, here let's
I think
scroll
that's really neat
here.
that it's all in one place now.
Yeah, I
It's like,
think it'll. Oh, that's what I get for not planning those. Hey, Hank! I think it'll be really helpful to be able to find everything in one spot. We were giving too many links out. Hey, you're her. Welcome. Saeed, as usual, Saeed's like, how am I even here? I don't even understand what I did. What did I do? I love it. Yeah. We pulled you in. We
yep.
yanked you into the show. Oh well, we should talk a little bit about camp. Look over here. We're heading back to camp. We're heading back. We have, at last check, 11 spots left. Am I right about
Check
that,
the
Paul? I think so. I think we're down to 11,
checking the number.
which is just nuts because camp is not until October.
Actually, we have 10.
10. It's crazy. It's been so fun. So we're super excited for everyone to be hanging out with us at camp, and we have a bunch of fun stuff planned for this year that's a little bit different than last year. So if you're one of the about half, it looks like when I last checked, it was about half people who were previous campers and half FOMO filled brand new campers that are joining the crew. So it should be a lot of the magic from last year, but a lot of new stuff based on feedback that happened. So yeah, there will be chocolate tasting. There will be alpacas. There's going to be alpacas this year, Paul. There's going to be
Fun.
workshops and camp counselors and all the stuff. All right, I'm seeing some
Maybe a
questions
photo
here.
walk.
A photo walk, yeah, maybe a video scavenger hunt. We're adding a camp clinic and a camp nurse this year, so we're gonna help you diagnose what ails you. It's gonna
She'll
be
fix all your tech ails.
fixing all of the ailments that you may have. Hopefully, you don't have a lot, but if you have some, we'll be fixing them. All right, I'm gonna swing
We're
back
only
by.
146 days away, too.
I know it's getting close. Kathy says she can't wait. Steven says, "Yikes! Only 10 spots left." All right, yeah, don't be number 11. Don't be number 11 for camp. ecamm.com/camp. Find out all the details there. Saeed asks a great question. So the answer to this one, so Ecamm affiliates, currently you do need to be an Ecamm user. You're kind of a weird example though, actually, Saeed. So maybe we should talk offline and chat a little bit more about this, because the rationale behind that was we just didn't want people. There are people out there who are basically like professional affiliates who just sign up for absolutely everything, and then they run they have like a very set program where they run ads, and they do things that basically are just driving sales, which is great, but it competes with a lot of the like ads and marketing that we're doing. And so it basically ends with us paying out twice, and it loses a lot of the authenticity and the value that we want to be able to bring to new and potential people, as well as to serve our community. So that's why, the why behind it. But you're an interesting example because I feel like you're like an honorary Ecamm fam, and you know everything about who we are and what we're doing. So you would, I think, offer a lot more honesty and perspective to the tool. So yeah, reach out, marketing at ecamm.com, and we can chat a little bit more about that. All right. So Hank asks, he can ever find highlight clips and chop them down to 5 to 20-minute videos from what they recorded from the whole videos. I feel like I'm missing the beginning of this, but let me try to answer it anyway. So if you're talking about either camp or just in general about like longer form videos, there's a number of different tools that do this. Opus Clip is probably one of the most kind of widely known and used. We use that here. Paul uses that here. I shouldn't say we. Paul does most of the clipping for me. And it works really great. And they made a whole bunch of really big updates, right, Paul? They've like now made it
Yep.
even better
Yeah.
to be able to do that.
Yeah, they did some major editing. Katie, by the way, they're saying that your volume is much lower.
Oh, it's close. Oh, yeah. I know how to use my mic, I promise. I'm sorry, Laura. All right. I've turned myself up, way up. Let me know. I'll eat the mic. I'll talk into the mic. Hank, rephrase that a little bit so I make sure that we don't miss it. But the answer is yes. There's a number of different tools that do clipping and chopping down videos, certainly. And we also work with Descript and Scenery, as you know, which are both like video editing tools. So that allows a little bit more functionality above and beyond just clipping. But there's lots of tools out there that do that. And we've been trying to do more of it too, because as you know, we have a lot of content and the vast majority of it is pretty long form. So if you're asking, why don't you do more of this, Katie? We're working on this. We're trying to get it so that we have more content available out to you. Yes. Yeah. Buy the last 10 tickets and sell them on the black market. There's a plan. If you want more tickets, you're going to have to go to www. No, just kidding. Oh my gosh. What's a photo walk? Yeah, so one of the venues that we're looking at this year for our final brunch kind of send-off event is going to be at this like really incredible, beautiful location. They have 600 acres of land, and they've collected art from around the world, these huge like art installations that are across a huge, like all these different trails and areas and around the property. So there's some options for some like really cool different kinds of photo walk options. There's also we've been thinking too about some of the towns and cities that are kind of alongside Amesbury, and there's a lot of them that have really beautiful like river walks and ocean views and just really neat like downtown city photography. So lots of options to get a little bit creative during some downtime. So
Yeah, a group of us last year went to the town of Newport, and we just got out and started walking. And it was really kind of neat because the buildings there, I mean, there were alleyways that you looked at. I mean, it was just, there were so many opportunities to take a picture. And the other thing that I thought might be kind of cool is if you have somebody that's experienced with doing photo walks and stuff like that, make it, kind of an excursion but also kind of learn something about going, if you look down this alley, this is a really great shot. But if you go into this angle or you do this, look at it from this perspective, you're going to get a much better shot. So not only are you getting to see a taste of the East Coast and stuff like that in some of these incredibly historic towns, but you're learning to look at things differently.
Yeah. So let us know if that's of interest. We will organize. Kathy's asking about improv sessions. Yeah, that actually would be really fun. We're working on I'm trying to say actually a bunch of times. We're working on an upcoming virtual workshop that's improv based. So stay tuned for that, coming in June, I believe, timeframe. So coming up soon. Right. Yeah. All right. How's my audio now, Jeremy? Let me know. Am I better? Am I better? Maggie's hanging out. We have Neil here. Yes, Mark's also pointing out. Is Ecamm going to charge? Oh, so like built into Ecamm is what I imagine you're asking. No, it's not something that since we have these great integrations and there are a ton of tools out there that do it really well, it isn't something that we've looked at building natively into the app. But it's a thought. I mean, certainly we could pass that feedback back to Ken and Glenn. I know that next up, kind of after we've gotten through the full launch of Ecamm for Zoom, which is our latest feature, I know that there have been a few things on the kind of roadmap that are more focused on like first run kind of beginners and new people in Ecamm. So things like, templates and things to make it a little bit easier to get up and running and started. So maybe that fits into that world in some way. Not kind of at the beginning first run, but sort of in the helping people who are new and just starting. Yeah, typos are my worst enemies too. You are not alone. Oh, good, much better audio. I'm doing it. What I did was, so the audio looks great visually to me in Ecamm, which is one of those things I learned from Doc, and I have it set to my 80. Both Paul and I are at 80, but I had bumped. There's like a button, not even a button. There's like a touch screen on the top of my MV7. And I had bumped it so it was down a couple of lights. But the cool thing is it's got lights, so it's immediately noticeable, and I do it often. So I've noticed. I think the newer MV7 Plus, which is the newer version of this microphone, but then I'd have to get my colors again, which would be sad. But anyway, the newer version of it, I think, has some additional, because it's got a light on the top and some things, so it might actually help with some of that. But all right, Neil wants to do a photo walk. Kathy wants to lead improv. These are great ideas. I'll be in touch. All right. So Mark asks, on a LinkedIn Live the other day, closed captions were available in the stream. Yes. So that is a LinkedIn feature, and it is also a YouTube feature. So you can turn that on yourself on your end in YouTube. It's on the
one thing on YouTube
bottom.
that you have to be careful, if you change the resolution to, anything other than the standard, there's three options. If you choose the lower two options, you won't get closed captions. They, live. They will get added in after YouTube finishes their processing, which can take 12 to 24 hours before those appear, but they will ultimately appear. If you're looking to have the closed captionings live, you have to stick with a lower resolution of your stream going out. Or actually, the what do they call it? Screen fade.
I don't know. I can't help.
It is called. Come on back. Grab a. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Good.
So the stream latency is what you're looking at. So if you have it set for normal latency, you're going to get closed captionings live in the stream. If you pick either low latency or ultra low latency,
oh, it's because of like the delay. Yeah.
Yep. You're not going to get live closed captionings. It can't handle all that processing. You will get them, like I said, once YouTube processes, which can be 12 to 24 hours later, the closed captionings will show up. But yeah, if you pick anything other than normal latency, you're not going to get closed captions live in your stream.
Yeah. And that, I mean, currently is what, as I see another question coming in about kind of like what platforms and tools we use. We don't talk about this as often as we probably should, but so we do obviously a lot of live streams, but the shows that we do live that then we are repurposing or using the kind of the replay videos, we will use Descript, for example. Drop the video into Descript, it generates the transcript of it, and then we make some tweaks and changes and kind of clean up that transcript, and we use that. You can, within Descript, you can save that as an SRT file. You can upload that into YouTube to make sure that the closed captions that YouTube is showing your replay viewers or your video viewers later are accurate and are what you want them to be, especially if you're like us and you have a company name like Ecamm, or you have, words that they may not necessarily get, or you have someone like Doc who uses like all of his docisms and expressions that are not, commonly used. They're very much in his own language, in his own doc world. So it allows you to kind of clean those up and make sure that you have the best possible closed captions. So that is a great tool for things like that, which is not even like the main kind of thing that people use a tool like Descript for, but we found it to be really helpful for that. And it also helps us populate chapters as well, because it gives us just that really quick kind of, we can scan through it and figure out exactly sort of where we've changed, topics. And so we were able to make chapters really quickly there as well. Which brings us into our next question, which is, are we using Scenery or what other platform for the social clips on Instagram, Shorts, etc.? We use a mix of different tools for different kinds of things. So we use Scenery for the Flow podcast. That's what we're using for editing all aspects of the video for the Flow. Scenery absolutely does clipping. They have transcripts. They have a lot of the features that you see in other tools. For our Leap event, for example, or for really just like quickly pulling clips when we don't want to spend a ton of time editing or thinking about it too much, we do use Opus. That's just like a really fast and easy way for us to do it. And as I said, they come up pretty good. The challenge we face with Opus is that we have a lot of we have a lot of awesome graphics and designs to our shows. And so this wouldn't, this particular, this scene we're on right now would not clip well in Opus, because it would try to stack us, and it would be maybe, actually, who knows, maybe it would, but
yeah, actually this one will, because there's some maneuvering stuff that you can go in. If any of you watched Leap, and when I was working on the Leap clips, Doc would appear in a small little camera down in the corner, overlaying on the basic layout, and Opus had a horrible time with that. It kind of looked at it as like kind of this gnat that was just kind of there and kind of a bother, but it wouldn't pay attention to it. And I couldn't get things focused on it most of the time.
oh no.
With the new changes they made, there's a little bit more flexibility of being able to recrop the images and move stuff around. So sometimes when you go in, if you tell it to split screen or do a fit, you get a little bit more. There's still some issues with the whole editing process. It's not perfect, but I did notice the later versions of the Leap clips that I did, they turned out a lot better because I had that ability to focus and recrop on the pictures, where in the earlier ones, the feature wasn't there. And so it was just, I had to kind of grab a spot, and that was the best I could do.
Yeah.
But Opus it's getting pretty good. And it's really neat now too, is because any of you that have used Opus, it kind of gives you a selection of the clip. Now you have the ability to add sections before or sections after, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in order of the script. So you could pick out key points and have it tagged into that clip, and add stuff in if for explanation or remove words and stuff like that. It's pretty cool now.
Yeah.
If you haven't checked it out, play with it.
So it's OPUS Clip or Opus Pro. I can't remember their website. I think is opus.pro. I think it's opus.pro.
Yeah, opus.pro.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a great tool, and one we know their team really well, and it's one we use. We're not we do not recommend things that we do not use. All right, Mark is asking a follow-up question or comment. Other YouTube live streams have instant closed captions? Yeah, so it's on your end. It's not something that we're doing as the creation. So yeah, it's just whether or not you have it turned on.
Yeah, one of the things that we do on a lot of the streams is because they become very interactive, is we change the latency so that the comments start get presented to us quicker, so that we can put them in and get sent out to the stream. So it makes it much more like a real-time conversation, rather than waiting 15, 20 seconds for the comments to pass back and forth. So that's why we do that, which again negates, live closed captioning. So it's kind of a trade-off.
Yeah. Yep.
Which do you want?
Which do you want? All right, we got a question coming in here. Keep getting a message on YouTube saying there's not enough video being pushed into YouTube, which causes the stream to buffer when using Ecamm. It says YouTube is only getting 2,800, while the suggested is 6,800. Ooh.
That could be your bandwidth, a bandwidth issue. If you have a lot of stuff running on your computer, a lot of tabs open, other programs that you may not need, you could have some background things like Dropbox or something, sending stuff out. So you may have to look at your up and download speeds on your internet connection and kind of base things from that and see what's going on.
Yeah, speedtest.net will give you a speed test where you can look at your upload and your download speeds. You want to look at upload is what matters. So download, it will be a bigger number because that's what they sell you on, but upload is what matters. And then yeah, do a double check on closing everything down. But if that doesn't fix it, that is a great one to send through to our tech support team.
Yep.
And a good time for us to swing over here to remind you that you can go to support.ecamm.com. And that will, let me turn this on so you can kind of see here. So that'll bring up all of the searchable articles and all of the helpful information to get you up and running with Ecamm. But at the very bottom of that page and the bottom of every page on our website, you can click this little orange icon and you can chat with us, right? So you can look for help or you can send us a message. So if you send us a message here and let us know what's going on, that goes right to our tech support team and it'll be triaged up to the right person to help get that solved as quickly as possible. So yeah, it just might be worth taking a look over there. And it looks like a follow-up comment here.
Yeah, you also might want to run activity monitor and just look at your CPU and your memory and just see if you're tight in that area too. Because I've done that. I've tried to run a bunch on my older computer, tried to run a bunch of stuff, and it starts, whatever program is active, the one that you've clicked on and is showing is the one it's gonna get most attention. And if you're running out of stuff, it can start hampering everything else. So, check a few things out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worth keeping an eye on. It does sound like you're doing a few kind of resource heavy things at once. So it might just be that either your computer doesn't have enough resources to handle it, or your internet, or a combination of both. So worth checking out.
Yeah, and always keep in mind, live streaming is like one of the most processor intense applications you are probably ever going to use. I mean, unless you're doing, molecular generation and gene splicing and stuff like that. It is massively intensive because it's having to render all these different pictures and do all this different stuff. So Ecamm is going to be a kind of a worker on your machines.
Yep. Maggie, it is speedtest.net. Speedtest.net. That's just one. If you just search internet speed test online, there's a few of them, but that'll give it to you.
Yeah, there's also one built into Ecamm has another one that will check your speed. The one thing to keep in mind when you are using like speed tests in some of these programs, it's going to do two things. First, it's going to test like your download speed, and then it's going to test your upload speed and give you two numbers. The problem is we don't operate that way. We're not just downloading and then uploading. We're doing both of those simultaneously. So the one in Ecamm and the one that Apple has basically takes a look at it from the perspective of you're doing multiple things at once. So it's kind of giving you more of an accurate view of what your speed is when you look at it through the Ecamm one.
Yeah. And honestly, it also depends on how much you're doing. We should do an updated version of this, but years back, Luria did a stream for us as she was doing a show for us called Go Live Now. And she did a stream where she basically just went live and then pushed all of the buttons, right? Because if it's like you by yourself, talking head, not a lot of graphics on screen, not doing anything but just talking into the camera, that's going to be lower resources needed than if you are running a production with guests coming in and out and lots of moving graphics and screen sharing and all that is going to be more resource intensive. So it may also be a good idea, or if you're multi-streaming, for example, then you're, using Ecamm, then that is doubling or tripling or quadrupling. Every place that you add is increasing pushing those limits further, right? So just testing it, going to an unlisted YouTube so that you can push all the buttons and see where those thresholds are is great. And that is what Luria did on that live stream, was just okay, let's try. What happens if I add in a couple more guests? What happens if I roll a video clip and it's just playing in the background while I'm doing it? What happens if I bring in a bunch of different graphics, or I'm doing widgets, or Ecamm allows you to do a lot of stuff, but if you're doing all of it at once, it is going to be taxing on your computer and on your internet. So it's just worth kind of
Yep.
testing and trying and seeing where those thresholds lie. Even,
And
newer computers may run into issues if you're doing all the things at once, or you have multiple software open, or you're
Mark brought up a good point too, is if you run the speed test from a browser,
oh yeah,
it's throwing advertisings and all kinds of other stuff in there. So that's
yeah,
you're not going to get an accurate reading. So the best thing to do is to download the app on your computer and run it that way. The
hmm
other thing to keep in mind too is if there's more than just you in the house and
hmm
you're doing a live stream and all this stuff, and the family decides they're going to all start watching Netflix movies or other things or download
hmm
music or something or whatever,
video
that's
games or what?
going to
Yeah,
impact, yeah, play video games. That's going to impact your available network capacity. So things, I know a lot of people when they go live, there's a mandate in the house. Nobody can do anything online. You have to stay offline for
yeah,
the next, 60 minutes. So
yeah,
keep those things in mind because you may look good, but you don't know what's happening in the rest of your house. And even in neighborhoods where
yeah.
I used to live, when during the day everybody was at work, I had great internet speed. 5 o'clock at night, when people and 6 o'clock when people started coming home, my network, my speed test would start dropping. And it was because the entire neighborhood was home and they were using the network. So
hmm
there's a lot of factors that go into play.
Yeah, yeah, it is interesting. It's stuff that you don't necessarily think about, but it does. It goes and whether or not you're in an office and are on like professional business internet versus a residential neighborhood, like how they're kind of splitting that internet connection and funneling it in different places. And really, honestly, like, and again, I say this as someone that's not trying to sell you anything. It's just this made a huge difference in my world. Is that we have terrible internet connectivity here in the Amesbury area. My house is actually preposterously good because I'm like right over the New Hampshire border, and it's just a different company that offers it. But in the office, when we're there, we use Speedify. I don't use them because they are a sponsor or because they are a nice team. They have sponsored our stuff. They are an amazingly nice team, but it took I think it was our second leap year where
Yep.
everything failed. Like the internet, went down. Like every backup that we had failed, and we had people that we needed to get our content out to. So the cost of that, which is not all that expensive, was well worth it. And now I just have it as a backup always to be able to, even if it's doing nothing but bonding together like our phones as a backup, it goes a long way. It makes a really big difference.
And the crazy thing about that second of leap when Speedify was fixing everything, nobody realized that any of these problems happened
We
until
didn't
after
even
the whole leap,
notice.
the day was over, and Doc
Yeah.
realized that his hotspot had used up all of his um, time for the month,
Yeah.
and it was like that's when everybody realized, oh my gosh, the whole network, everything crashed and all this stuff, but nobody knew because the event kept streaming
Yeah.
because of Speedify.
Yeah. Yeah. It's absolutely it's crazy. So the more videos that we work on and the more projects that we do and live events and workshops and all these things, the more it becomes really apparent that there are a lot of solutions out there, there are a lot of tools out there, but just really understanding where your thresholds are, what are like absolute musts versus things that are nice to have, really understanding what the options are and testing and trying them out when when you're not in a really urgent
Yep.
time where it doesn't matter as much is really important. So the tools that we have in our arsenal, have really saved the day for us across the board in a number of times and places. So it makes a ton of
And
sense.
Speedify added something new too, where you can use multiple cell phones. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have multiple phones in your house, so they're on different carriers or something like that, or
Mm-hmm.
somebody's, you can bond that one in too, and add that into your setup, so it's
Yep.
another option to use. Uh, it's a really cool application worth
Yeah.
looking into. Plus, it's a VPN too, which is great if you're traveling.
Yep.
Uh, if you're home and you want to, Doc always talks about making reservations because sometimes if you're in certain areas, you can get different rates. So you can
Yep.
just turn the VP on and say you're in New York and you go and watch the shows early, or you can book tickets in New York for the theater.
Yep. Yeah, Tate is saying that the 30-foot Cat 5 cable is the best investment ever. Yeah, cables go a long way too. That's one of those
Yep.
things where if there's something that's not working, chances are it's the cable. Cables fail way faster than any of the expensive gear that you have. So
Yep. When you're
definitely worth
troubleshooting,
checking it.
start with the cheapest thing first.
Yep, it's definitely start with the cheapest thing first. All right, well, I'm waiting for more questions to come over. So while I'm at it, I'll keep going with Ecamm update stuff. So if you're loving these streams, these designs, Martin created these for us. And Martin is just like absolutely incredible at all this. Like it's just ridiculous. So you if you want them, he has them for sale. He also has a bunch of free options as well. But these are all built directly in Ecamm, so they work really well. You can customize them however you want. You can go to streamprofiles.selfie, SELLFY.store. I'll just copy this out in case anyone's interested.
I got it.
But yeah, this is one of those. Sorry, Paul, I beat you to it.
That's okay. That's all right.
This is one of these things that it goes a long way. You should. I was looking around at profiles earlier, and just having even like and we were talking about this earlier today, but like having a starting point can really make a big difference. I am not artistically inclined whatsoever. I have no skill in the world of graphic design or design anything. So it's nice. I find it really helpful to be able to start somewhere and then be able to build off of it to get the look that I want. So huge thanks to Martin because he built all of these for us and they look great.
And Hank said something about nylon cables are best. Actually, if you want a good cable, you want to get a braided cable. It's not the plastic coating, so it's not going to crack and break over time. And this bends much easier. But yeah, you want to get braided cables.
Braided. Don't listen to Hank. We love you, Hank. We're just joking. Let me scroll through to make sure I'm not missing anything. We're smashing and also lightly tapping the like button. You all crack me up all the time. We don't actually like hilariously, as much as there is going on, I don't have like a ton of stuff today. We talked about the community. We talked about camp. Oh, we can swing over here and talk about, I keep covering your head, Paul. I'm sorry. Ecamm for Zoom. So if you haven't tried Ecamm for Zoom yet, it is still in beta testing, but we are flying through and it is doing it's doing its job. The updates have been fast and furious.
We just did one today that added Stream Deck keys,
Yep.
a Stream Deck update that now has Stream Deck keys that work with the Zoom portion. I think we should change it to E and the number 4Z.
E for Z. E for Z. I feel like Zoom probably would have rules against that, but
Probably.
But yeah, Ecamm for Zoom or E for Z if you're cool like us. It's great. And so I have had people saying like, okay, but like what is this and what does it do and why do I need it? So here's my quick sell on Ecamm for Zoom. So if you're an Ecamm user, it's built into the pro level. So there's no additional cost or anything extra. It sounds like it's its own app. It's not. It's all built into Ecamm. It's in the pro level. It's great for a couple different use cases. So certainly if you are the person who is facilitating a lot of meetings and webinars and virtual presentations and all these kinds of things in the Zoom environment, any of the Zoom tools, this is great because what it does is it actually automates the virtual camera and the virtual microphone. So you don't even need to think about that anymore. It just does it. It's like you open Ecamm opens Zoom for you. You're good to go. You just show up looking and feeling your best. So at its bare minimum, it allows you to do anything you can do in Ecamm will just show up in Zoom without having to think about anything else, which is great. And then if you are facilitating any of those meetings or webinars or events and all that kind of stuff, what's great about this too is that you can put the comments on screen. So the same way that you can do it with we've been doing this entire stream where we're featuring the YouTube comments, you can feature and brand Zoom comments on screen, which is great. So even those two alone, those two features are just, I think, awesome. But the third one unlocks, I think, a couple of extra audiences. So the third one is that it has a whole Zoom window built in where you can just pull Zoom guests, like Zoom meeting attendees or, any of the Zoom webinar folks, panelists, all those folks. You can pull them right into your main window here in Ecamm and they can come on as interview guests or as panelists or as special experts for your videos or for your presentation. So it's just a great way to be able to have guests come on in a different way. Maybe you're a podcaster and it's been a pain trying to explain Ecamm interview to to your guests. So maybe people are more comfortable or familiar with Zoom. Or I've heard from a lot of you that you're doing things like you have maybe like a membership group or, you know, a Patreon or something like that. And so you have your podcast or your show, but you have a Zoom session running at the same time. And so you can take extra questions from them or bring them on screen to make them feel special. So there's a lot in there. And as Paul said, now also all your Stream Deck buttons and icons so that you can control it really easily while keeping eye contact, which I think is huge. So I think it's going to be great. And there's a lot of stuff probably that will come as iterations of it come out. But for right now, it's pretty powerful. And again, so you're taking all your Ecamm with you into Zoom, so you can do pretty much anything in the production environment, and you get all of your Ecamm isolated files and all of the controls and features within it. So yeah, Maggie says it's been great for teaching. Absolutely. I think it is going to be really helpful for teaching. All right, we'll get some questions coming on. All right, just join the live. Hey guys, question, not so much a question, but a request. I multi-stream to different platforms and would love analytics. Yeah, this has been backburnered for a while. It's on the list. It's on the, the list that Ken and Glenn have been working through. That's a
I
great
think
one.
some of that too kind of
Yeah.
also is what kind of information they can get from the API and, what info they can collect as to whether they can share it or not.
Yeah.
Mark
this
asked
one's
a question.
Yeah, it's probably a little over my head, to be honest with you, Mark.
I know what he's asking.
Go for it, Paul.
So the reason it's not showing is because in Studio in the back end, I have it clicked to low latency because this is a question and answer. I wanted the questions to come across a little quicker so that we saw them.
Gotcha.
So that's why you're not seeing closed captions live. It's not available.
Gotcha.
If I had changed it to low latency or normal latency, then the captions would. It's kind of what we were talking about earlier. How you click those two boxes. If you select anything other than normal latency, you are not going to get closed captions live into the stream. So it's just a trade-off that you make. Do you want the comments and the stream to look a little more live than, closer together, or do you? And if comments are just popping in and you're not doing questions and answers, then it may not necessarily be that you need that closeness between the what's happening live in the stream. So it's up to you.
Mm-hmm. Maggie's talking about Martin's stuff from earlier. So yeah, all of these layouts that we've been, all the scenes and the graphics and everything was all built in Ecamm by Martin. And again, you can swing on over to streamprofiles.selfie.store if you want to grab these. They are awesome. I see Dan jumping on. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
I see Eden jumping on. Eden says, yeah, I know. Yeah, Eden, it's again, it's just nice to have to be boxed in, for lack of a word. It's nice to be boxed in, literally and figuratively. I think it gives, for people like me that are not design oriented, you're like, oh, okay, this is what I'm playing within. Then I can make some slight tweaks and still feel like I'm doing a good job and it looks good. But all the credit goes to Martin. It is not me.
And the countdown, the opening scene that we use with the countdown on it, with the image create repeat thing spinning and
that's
I think that
Marshall.
Is so cool.
That was Marshall doing that.
Marshall did that one.
Dan wants to know about triangles. No comment. no comment. No triangles. Triangles hopefully coming at some point, but I have no idea. So if you're looking for overlays, so there's a few different resources. Actually, I should swing over. If I swing over, this might be something worthwhile to add to our community page, actually. But let's close this for a second. I'm going to swing over here to our support page. So again, if you go support.ecamm.com and you come up here and you type in graphics, this one here, graphics, packages, and overlays for Ecamm. This has all of the different ones that we know of and approve and work really well with Ecamm. We don't have any of our own yet, and we don't sell any, so this is not Ecamm based, but these are people that we know and trust who do a really great job. So the first step is that Anna and Fulgens, it's currently on hiatus right now, but they run a a regular weekly show called Building Blocks, where they show you how to do all of this in Ecamm. So if you're here on YouTube with us, you can just go back over to our playlist, look for Building Blocks. There's like hundreds of episodes that talk in detail about how to do this. So if you want to build it yourself, this is a great way to go. Livestreamingpros.com. That's Luria Petrucci's website. Her team is incredible, and the designs that they do are awesome. So if you're looking for really professional, clean, easy to use stuff, they have countdown timers, lower thirds, all of it, all customizable, really cool. She's a
They
great,
have a fantastic designer named Paul Dixon that you've seen in our stream. He does
all the best polos.
unbelievable stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
So
very good.
you can get all of his stuff. Click here. If you're looking for sports stuff, there's a tool that we use and recommend called Scorebird that helps actually like pull in the score boards right into Ecamm for you and create some really neat widgets and tools around that. Bradley Teaches is another great creator that we work with, and he has a whole bunch of different packages. A lot of them are Keynote based, so again, they just pull right in. You can edit them and change them how you want. Let's Get Live as Docs. There's one called E-Overlays. Marshall, who's our designer, sells a bunch of packs. And see, I need to add Marshall's, and Marshall's that we are using today, which we've been talking about, and we have here in the comments for you if you want to click through. And he's got a lot of free ones too, so worth checking out. You're welcome. Yeah, there's lots of options out there. And again, too, you can always like ask in the community if people there are so many talented people within our communities that do this and do it either for free or for pretty low cost. So you can always ask if anyone has ones they want to sell or want to share or
And
walk through, how it's done.
one of the things that Building Blocks kind of shows frequently too is where if you see something that you like, do a screenshot of it, and then basically use that as a template in Ecamm, bring it into Ecamm, and then just start building things
Layer
over
over
the
it.
top of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And make it your own.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them you can duplicate. There's also, I mean, there's some fancy stuff with some widget overlays with Uno.
Oh yeah, I have to add Uno in there too. Yeah.
Uno overlays,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cool. So I put that in. That it's currently free, but they have tons of stuff. And the neat thing with Uno is it does these overlays that you can use, but you can give control. You can, like, if you have somebody in your stream or a remote producer or something or somebody else, you can actually give them a URL and then they can actually go in and make changes. So if you're talking about stuff, you have topics, they can change the topics for you or add, late breaking news, things that are happening. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Uno's great.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm just going through a couple more questions. I see India's on. Hello, India.
Hey, India. Speaking of India,
go.
tune in Friday. India's going to be doing the demo.
India. She's going to kill it. Jeremy asks, I seem to recall in our interview, you and I could talk to each other during the intro without it being sent out. Yeah. So I feel like we need a video or a blog article or both that is like hidden features in Ecamm. So if you did not know this, there is a hidden feature in Ecamm where if you mute the host, the producer driving Ecamm, if you mute your audio and you mute the interview guest audio, it automatically opens up a off-air audio channel. So for example, in this countdown timer, both Paul and I were muted. And so we're able to talk with each other over the music or whatever else is playing, but we can talk to each other and that doesn't go out to the stream. It's not, if I'm being honest, it's not ideal for all use cases because it is a little bit difficult to sort of talk over whatever else the viewers are seeing, right? So like you're only going to use it if you're rolling a video clip or if you're behind like an intro, scene or countdown timer or something where the audience is watching something else. It's not used in the case of like if I was to put Paul on screen and say I had Dan hanging out in the backstage with me, Dan and I wouldn't be able to talk backstage because not everyone is muted. So it only turns on when everyone is muted. So it wouldn't work for us to kind of talk behind the scenes that way, at least at this point. So it's great. It does a lot, but it's very specifically for those kinds of quick back channel communications, production related, like, oh, Paul, we're about to go on in 2 seconds. Hurry up and grab that glass of water and cut back here. We're going to go. That kind of stuff.
Katie can Katie can show a video, and in the back end, while that's going, she can go, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could put up which I've never done, but I should do at some point, is like one of those like emergency scenes where it's like, we'll be right back, and you could like play fun music. So like if something went wrong, you could technically throw that scene up, and then you'd be able to talk behind that, for example. So but yeah, that's a good call out, Jeremy, because that's one that people, I don't know, there's no, it's not obvious unless you've like accidentally muted everyone, and then it's like, now you have audio is turned on. So Eden is highly recommending the building blocks episodes. Yeah, it is super, it's a great show. In fact, all of the shows that On and Fulgens do are just really well produced, so learning how they do it is huge. This is a
And
great
just
question, Tom.
a
Go ahead.
reminder to some people, when we started this year, we kind of revamped how we have our shows,
Mm-hmm.
rather than I mean, we were doing like shows almost, well, we were doing 6 days a week. We had shows and sometimes multiple shows on a day.
Mm-hmm.
So we basically pulled things into quarters. And so we kind of staggered things up. So
Yep.
like Building Blocks is now on a hiatus. They
Mm-hmm.
will come back at the beginning of July.
Mm-hmm.
Martin is now his stream is now going July 1st. He will go on. So we've got things coming and going. The flow is on hiatus now until the 1st of July.
Mm-hmm.
We do pop-up streams on several of, like the flow and stuff, every so often, but we're trying to stagger it so it's not like this fire hose of streams and information coming
Yeah.
at you. It's a little more easier to digest and not necessarily have to pick something.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. I think that makes a ton of sense. This is a good question that Dan asked. No worries. I hear your respect in this. This is a fair question. So when are we going to be through this the Zoom stuff and back to some of the other features? I don't have an official release date to give you yet, but we're pretty close on the Ecamm for Zoom stuff. And then, on the other side of it, as I said, there are a number of kind of, especially those like early beginner level first run stuff that's high in importance. And then there's, a lot of like the producer stuff. We've been listening to obviously all the feature requests that have come through in the Q&As and in Discord and in our community. So there's a pretty long list of things that the guys are working on. But and we have our intern Will, who is helping us as well, and he's also just done an incredible job with development. So we have an extra set of hands helping. So hopefully soon, definitely summertime timeline if you want kind of a loose timeline, but no official date yet. All right, no Ecamm has LUTs, but it'd be really nice to have an easy touch-up appearance button like Zoom and StreamYard have. Yeah, that's good feedback and a good question. We don't have that, but it's certainly something we could suggest through to the guys. I know it is something that comes up pretty often and probably will as more Zoom people figure out who Ecamm is and come into the Ecamm world.
Well, and one thing that you have to keep in mind too is that all these nice little things that we put into the program take up processing power. And,
Yeah.
So we've already gotten to a point where there are certain features and functions that you have to have an M1 computer in order to be able to use those features and stuff. So it's like, as we add more stuff, it starts pushing out some of the older Macs and things like that, and making it harder and harder for those to work. Like I have an Intel MacBook Pro. It's very difficult for me to run Ecamm on and do anything productive with it because it just can't. I mean, the fans go off, the thing gets hot, it can't handle it. So there starts to be a trade-off of, are enough people going to use it, or is this going to tick off the user base, because those people with older Macs, that are maybe just doing really simple streams or something like that, or recording content, are not going to be able to, they're not going to be able to use Ecamm anymore because they have to have a newer machine or something like that. So there's a lot of things that go into, these cute little nicety things, is it really worth it in the long run?
Yeah. Yep. Super valid point.
How many people are going to use it? Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. We're nearing the end of our time, but I'm going to fly through the rest of these kind of questions that are coming in. So get your last minute questions in now.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like I do need some updates to that page. So sorry about that, but I will double check, make sure that we are up to date with everything there. I see. Oh, there. Question continued. My holdback because that quick fix feature does, yeah, it does the trick. I hear you, and you're right. Like there are a lot of people out there that it really does make a big difference for. So I promise I'll get that feature request into Ken and Glenn. And India's having a busy week. I love it. India's been traveling and doing some really cool work with Luria and the live streaming pros team, which is awesome. Congrats on that. I can't wait to hear the behind the scenes. A hi to Maestro. All right, so I was looking for a shortcut to trigger when I receive a new subscriber on my live. Yeah, so the best one that I can think of would be there is a site called Stream Elements,
Yep.
and they have a ton of different widgets. And then in Ecamm, you would add that in under widget overlays. So go to the overlays menu and then widget overlay, and then you just drop the link in, and it populates and triggers depending on what it was built to do. But they have one that does that.
Yeah, there's the widget overlay thing looks like a little globe down at the bottom. So yeah, but yeah, that's a good. A lot of people use that one, and it pops up on the screen.
Yeah, that's a good one. Dual streaming horizontal and vertical. Technically, you can do that now, but it just auto crops. So like if you're streaming to a platform that is vertical based, it will just crop whatever you have. And we do have a vertical safe zone, so you know where to be and can kind of avoid bad cropping as it crops. But I know that was something that Glenn was looking into before we jumped into the Ecamm for Zoom stuff. So I assume that he'll be able to pick that back up on the other side. But yeah, that is a request that is on the list, and something they've been considering is being able to choose how it shows up. So basically it would send two different video files through to the platforms so that it could pick up the correct one without having to do the cropping. Yes, so you could put on a "we'll be right back" video, and you could talk behind the scenes to your guests. Val is here.
Hey, Valerie.
I need to grab some of the singing sound bites from the concert, Val, so I can just have like a Val announcement background noise. And I have some, so it's coming. It's coming. Yeah. Hilariously, Saeed, we need Ecamm for Microsoft Teams does get asked a lot, and it does. You can actually use Ecamm virtual camera, virtual microphone into MS Teams now, but obviously it's not as automatic and as easy as Zoom. And the reason, honestly, as you can imagine, is just Microsoft Teams is not as popular with Mac users as Zoom and as some of the other ones. So, but used by a lot of people. My husband uses that all the time for work, so. I have no idea how it works. Every time I get one of those links, I'm like, oh no. Oh no. Yeah, touch up is called camera controls. True. You can do a bunch. Yeah, good. So I like the Ecamm schedule. We're getting people in less trouble with the new Ecamm schedule. Good. Glad to hear it. I'm scrolling through. I'm so glad that the live has been helpful. We have lots of them, but this one is monthly at the moment. Yeah, this is actually a great question, Hank. And again, one of those things that people just don't think about until you try it. So and I think I know this correctly. Maybe Paul can correct me if I'm wrong, but we can still see it. It deletes on YouTube's end, but it does get, because with the second it gets pulled in from YouTube, it gets sent over to us.
They tried to fix this, and when I think it was when 4.0 came out, around that time, they tried to put this in because it's a big thing for moderators, because we frequently will delete comments and stuff from the stream so that it doesn't get presented to the host. The problem was the way YouTube and a lot of these channels handle the updates. They do them in batches, and they will send a message out to say delete this, and then they don't go back and look at anything else. So it was like, if you didn't catch it just right and you deleted a comment, YouTube wouldn't do it. When you were right in the sweet spot, it would delete, but it wasn't consistent enough to be able to make it a reliable thing. So they pulled it out because it was causing more problems than it was worth when we were doing the beta testing.
Yeah. Yeah, because and this actually goes hand in hand with the common question. It's becoming less common, but there was a period of time in and around that year where everyone was also asking for automated comments. And the issue with automated comments and with how YouTube works and with deleting comments is that you could have, and we've seen this happen with other companies and brands and channels, where if you get like a spam attack or trolls or something that comes in that says like really horrible things in your chat, and you're automatically throwing those comments up, or you're just not paying attention because you're clicking quickly, like what I'm doing right now, like I'm clicking quickly through all of these, you could technically even click onto screen a comment that was deleted or a comment, your moderators were trying to remove. And then you're in real big trouble if there's something that's like not allowed or goes against YouTube's terms of service, right? So you could get your channel taken down, you could get your video removed, you could get all kinds of stuff can happen. And none of it is stuff that you want. So comment showcase with concern. Make sure you're paying attention.
As a moderator, when we remove a comment, or even the host, when we remove a comment, it's not going to be part of the stream when you watch the replays and all that stuff. But people that show all the, have a box showing with the comment and reactions thing showing on the screen, those, whatever comes into your comments is now a permanent portion of, thing of your stream. And there have been some extremely large, I'm talking millions of subscriber channels that have had their channels taken down because of that situation where comments were brought into the screen and stuff like that. And it was nixed. And some of them were able to get it back, and there's some people that were not able to get their channel back. So you need to be careful.
Hank, we were not talking about you and your comment. I delete them all the time when I type something wrong or I say something dumb and I'm like, oh, that was stupid, I'm going to remove that. So
I do that all the time. I frequently do that, and I'll type something in on one of doc streams or something like that.
Edit button, oh crap! But I guess then it wouldn't go through into the stream. Yeah, so it's interesting things that are worth playing around with. Well, I hate to be the one to wrap up the fun, but we're gonna wrap up the fun. Final reminder over here that camp is coming. 10 spots left. That's it, 10. And I know for a fact that some of those spots are like partners that have not filled out their registration form yet. So not even really 10 full spots left. A little bit of wiggle room, but we would love to see you here. It is such a fun event, and it's so great for us as the Ecamm team to be able to welcome you into our hometown, our headquarters, and be able to show you all the cool stuff that we've been up to and answer your questions and just spend time together. So if there's, if togetherness and collaboration is on your list for this year, make sure that you're signed up. I know many of you I see in the chat are, and I'm super excited to get to see everyone. I think it's
so cool to have just 100 people in that. Last year, I had only met 2 people in real life in the world of Ecamm in like 3+ years. And it was like, I got to meet all these people and talk with people and make friendships and stuff like that. It's incredible. Plus you learn a lot too.
Yep.
But just that experience of being able to interact with each other and laugh and tell stories, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it is huge.
And the food is fantastic.
The food, that's all we care about, it's choosing the right. Just kidding. We care about all of you, but the food really does matter. We're thinking about all of that as we go through. Well, thanks, Paul. As always, I feel like the time flies by, and thanks so much to all the amazing questions. And I guess one final, you can find us if you go ecamm.com/community. This is where all the stuff is. So everyone that's like, how do I know what's going on? You sign up for our emails. How do I find your videos? It's here on YouTube, everything in one spot. So please take advantage of this and let us know what we're missing on this page. We're happy to add and make updates to it. But yeah, we're here to help support you. So we appreciate all your feedback and all your great ideas. And we will see you next month or on the next stream. I probably will see you in the chat on the next stream, but otherwise next month. Same bat time, same bat channel. Bye, everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, Paul.
Bye.